Well, good afternoon. Hopefully, you had a great day at school today. We are going to do a review for Chapter 4, and we're going to start with the greatest common factor. And what I want you to do to solve these is to literally go through, hit pause first, and then solve these particular problems. So we're going to do that individually. So let's go ahead and hit pause and solve for the greatest common factor of 30 and 36. So go ahead and do that. All right, so there are two ways, as we discussed in class. You can, one, do the prime factorization with the factor tree. So what times what gives me 30? 5 times 6, 5 is prime, 2 times 3, and those two are prime. Then you can go to the number 36, and we can say 6 times 6. None of those are prime. And then you get 2 times 3. That's prime. And 2 times 3. Those are prime. Now we can compare. And you have 2 times 3 times 5 compared to 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. And what's common? Well, I have a pair of 2's that are common and a pair of 3's that are common. So then you take this, which represents 2, and this represents 3, and you multiply those together to give you 6. Okay, that's one way of doing it. You can also list your factors if you like, and if you do, for 30, it'd be 1 and 30, 2 and 15, multiply to get 30, 3 and 10, 4 doesn't go into 30, but 5 does, times 6. And so then we end up getting my list of factors. For 36, it'd be 1 and 36. 2 goes into 36 12 times. 18 times. 3 times 12. 4 times 9. 5 does not. 6 does. That's 6 times 6, which you only write 1 6 down. And then compare. And we get 1's, 2's, 3's, 6's, and none of the others match up. So my greatest common factor is 6. Okay? You're not multiplying these all together. We already have all our list of factors. Okay? It's just if you're listing them, the greatest common is the largest. When you use prime factorization, that's when you have to multiply those together. Now, if you do prime factorization and none of them match up, for example, 2 times 3, and then you've got a 5 times 7, okay, none of those factors match up, so my answer then would be 1 in that case, okay, because 1 is always a factor because we always start with 1 times itself. Okay, so if you do use prime factorization only, remember, if none of them match up, 1 is your answer. Okay, so these two work for this group that we have right here of 30 and 36. Let's look at our next. Now we're trying to find the equivalent equation and finding the value of what's remaining on the numerator. So go ahead and hit pause and solve. Well, for this one, we start with saying with the completed fraction, 3 times what gives me 24? Since it's getting bigger, well, it'd be 3 times 8. So 2 times 8 gives me 16. And that is it. You're just trying to find that number. No need to reduce it or anything. That's not what they're asking for you to do here. Let's look at the next problem. It says write as an improper fraction. So go ahead and solve this and hit pause. For this, again, we're going to take 4 times 3, the denominator times the whole number, which is 12, and then we're going to add 12 to 1, which gives me 13, and the denominator always stays the same. So 13/4, done. That is an improper fraction. Writing it as a mixed number, go ahead and hit pause and solve this. Well, to solve this, you simply need to divide. Top number goes in the division box. Divided by 4. How many 4's in 25? Well, there are 6, which is 24. Subtract, you get 1. and 1 is my numerator, 4 is my denominator. Again, 4 has to stay the same when you solve these problems. Okay? So 6 and 1/4, make sure that this number, the fraction, is in simplest form, and it is. Finding the LCM, the least common multiple. Go ahead and solve this. Well, the first thing you need to do is write the multiples of 20. So we're going to count by tens. Okay? And now we're going to compare to 25, and we're going to count by 25s. And again, you can count by 10 by adding 10 to each one, or you can say 1 times 10, 2 times 10, 3 times 10, 4 times 10, and same thing with 25. You can say 25 and then add 25 to that, which you get 50, or you can simply say 1 times 25 or 2 times 25, and so on. And as we do this, we see that there immediately is a common multiple, which is 50. Okay, and that is my answer, 50. Done. Now again, we can do this by simply looking at the largest number and determining if 10 goes into that. If it does not, you do the next multiple of 25, which we said was 50, and does 10 go into 50 equally? And it does 5 times. Therefore, the answer, again, is 50. Okay, so a couple different ways you can look at it. We use this method up here, the second method, when we're finding least common denominators. Now we're going to compare. And speaking of least common denominators, yes, you need to make certain you do that first before you can compare. So go ahead and hit pause and solve this. So common denominators, again, we're trying to find, start with the largest number, which is 9. And so we can write that off to the side if we like. Does 5 go into 9 equally? It does not. So the next multiple of 9 is 18. Does 5 go into 18 equally? It does not. The next one would be 27. Does 5 go into 27 equally? It does not. The next one would be 36. Does 5 go into 36 equally? It does not. Next one is 45. Does 5 go into 45 equally? And it does in this case. So we're going to make both of them. And the reason I like to line these up like this is it makes it easier to do it off to the side, which is 45, and this will be 45. So 9 times what is 45? Times 5. So 4 times 5 is 20. And then times 9 to both of them. And I should have done that up here. So then we get 5 times 9 is 45, and 2 times 9 is 18. And which one is larger? Now we can look at the numerators, and we see that 4/9 is larger, so it is 2/5 is less than 4/9. Okay, gotta find common denominators, make them with the least common denominator, and make them equivalent fractions so that they can be compared. Go ahead and put these in order from least to greatest. So go ahead and do this. So you get 2/3, 3/4, 1/2, and 5/9. Starting with our largest number, 9. Does 3 go into 9? Yes. Does 4? It does not. So let's do the next multiple of 18. 3 goes into it. 4 still does not. So then we'll do 27. And we say, does 3 go into 27? Yes, it does. Does 4? It does not. So the next one would be 36. Does 3 go into 36 equally? It does, 12 times. Does 4? Yes, 9 times. Does 2? Well, it's an even number, so yes, it does. So 36 is going to be my least common denominator. And so now it's saying, all right, 3 times what gives me 36? Well, that's times 12. So 2 times 12 is 24. And 4 times 9. So 3 times 9 is 27. And 2 times 18. So 1 times 18 is 18. And 9 times 4. gives me 36, so 5 times 4 is 20. So now I can relate back up here to see which order they should be in, and 1/2 would be my smallest, and then 5/9, and then 2/3, and the last one is 3/4. Okay? Again, if you're having questions, please write them down and we can discuss them further tomorrow. Now it says write as a fraction in simplest form. Make sure you have it in simplest form, and you may hit pause and solve. So now we just simply need to say this number correctly, which is 35, and then the place value of the 5, which again is hundredths, so it's over 100. Now we've got to simplify it, and since they both end in 5 and 0, we can divide them both by 5. And so we get 7, and then 100 divided by 5 is 20. And then recheck this again. 7 is prime, so if 7 doesn't go into 20 equally, it is in simplest form. So that's your answer to that. Again, make sure you're writing this, saying it as it is. That's 35, and then the place value hundredths, so it's over 100. 35 hundredths, 35 100ths. It says it exactly the same way. Let's look at the next one. Now write this as a decimal. So go ahead and hit pause and solve. Again, top number goes in the division box. And in order to solve this, since 15 doesn't go into 9, we add a decimal and then add a 0. And how many 15s go into 90? Well, you can do this off to the side if you choose, and you can kind of guesstimate at this. We know that 15 goes in times 2 would be 30. How many groups of 30 would go into 90? Well, there would be 3 of those, so we can try 6 possibly and see if that works. So 5 times 6 is 30, and 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 more is 9, so we do get 90. Make sure your decimal is above that, and since we're working with 90, we work with the last 0 that we're working with. That's where our number will go, not above the 9. And we get 90, subtract, and 0 left over, therefore we're done. If we had anything remaining, we'd have to add another 0 and bring it down and continue from there. So my answer to this is 6/10 is equivalent to 9/15. Okay? So let's go ahead and do the next one. And it says name the ordered pair. Well, to do the ordered pair, we are going to, and it says for point B, I'm going to make a chart here. Oops, I need my graph. So let me make a graph. Let me hit pause. All right, trying to find point B. You're to find the coordinates. So go ahead and find the coordinates of point B. Well, to do that, you're again starting at 0, and we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, and up 1, 2, 3. So 4, 3 is your answer. Remember, you cannot go up first and then go to the right. You have to go right, which is my x, and my y is going up. So that's why we call them x and y coordinates. So we have to move to the right or to the left if it's negative, to the right positive, up 3. That is my answer. So 4, 3 are my coordinates. Okay, so let's look at the next one. It says now graph 5 and then comma 2.25. So go ahead and graph letter X on that point. So just make your own graph and plot it. So I'm going to go back to this where it's 5 and 2.25 is what X was. So if we're going to go over 5, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then up to 1, 2, and then 0.25 is going to be about 1/4. So you're going to put your dot about right here. it is less than half. Remember, 0.5 is my half. 0.75 is my 3/4. This is the next number, 1.00, or wherever you're at. And then this one is 0.25, and then you have your 0.0. Okay, and we'll say this is 0.0. So remember, that's where they're at according to those lines. So this is the halfway point, 3/4, 1/4, one whole, and the other whole. Okay, so that's where we need to make certain we do that. So this is about 1/4 of the way. Okay, so that's your answer to this. And again, if you have any questions, please make certain you make note of those. Ask myself or Mrs. Silvius in class the next day, and we'll be happy to go over those questions, because I'm sure if you have questions about it, there will be others that do as well. Have a great evening and good luck on the test.